Well, good afternoon, everybody. Wow, just looking at the attendees list, we're nearly up to 900 people who have logged in. I'm Steve Down, I'm the Vice Principal at Long Road, and I'm delighted to be able to welcome you to this virtual event. We are, however, really disappointed that you can't be here in person to experience the wonderful college environment you can see behind me here, and meet the teachers that you might be seeing next year. But we have got the next best thing, which is an opportunity to hear what it's like being at Long Road from some students that are here now and have been here during this year. We've got Katie, Adam, Poppy and Izzy who are going to answer your burning questions, everything you wanted to know about Long Road but were afraid to ask. So you don't want to hear too much from me, you want to hear from them, and they're going to be open and candid. You've got the opportunity to put some questions in the question box and they will be working their way through them. So I'm going to hand over to them. All the best, and I'll see you later.
Hello, my name is Poppy. I'm a Year 2 student and I studied Health and Social Care and Musical Theatre. I'm going to hand you over to Katie.
I'm Katie and I'm a Year 1 student. I'm currently doing biology, chemistry and psychology.
Hello, I'm Adam. I'm doing politics and psychology. I'm Year 1.
I'm Izzy. I'm doing English, geography and biology in Year 1 as well.
So if you've got any questions, then just ask them. They'll get filtered through staff and we'll answer as many as we can.
So our first question is, what is your favourite part about Long Road? Adam, over to you.
Oh, that is a difficult question because it's a little bit vague, but I think that with Long Road, the thing about it is that it gives you a lot of options. It's probably the best word for it. Has a lot of things which are very optional, like enrichment, but it definitely fluctuates depending on who you are. But overall, it's very open about different types of clubs and different, groups, and there are different societies throughout the school, which I think is very healthy and very good. So there's always great opportunities for that. There's always plenty of opportunities for volunteering, particularly. I think volunteering is a big thing for the school. When we're looking for opportunities to add to your EVQ, there's always opportunities for that. Myself, I'm part of the debate club, which is great. And obviously there's always opportunities to start new clubs because the school is always open to letting people run their own clubs or try and run events for other students. And you can go to teachers and you can talk to them about it. And if you've got an idea and you think it's a good one, then they'll have to help out. So that's really healthy in the school. And I think that's a great reason to go.
Yeah, I have to agree. So our second question, hang on. Would you like to add anything to that?
Not really. I'd say the campus is a good thing as well.
It's got lots of green, hasn't it?
Yeah. So as an ex-student, I would say that my favourite thing about Long Road is just like the community. Like everyone is so welcoming and kind, and if you have a problem, like when I was here, I didn't have a problem to go to anyone, feel scared to ask questions or anything, because they're literally, all the teachers are there to help you. And it's just a very, friendly environment and have amazing opportunities. Do you have anything to say?
I suppose just the fact that Long Road is quite it's in the centre of Cambridge, so it's only 40-minute walk, 20 if taking the shuttle to town. There's a bunch of food everywhere, and I think that's the good thing about the freeze is you can't just be in a confined space. You literally go anywhere you want, and obviously the actual campus is really nice as well. Lunchtime is really nice to just because everyone's in the same boat kind of. So you just go into the marquee and everybody is just
yeah. Katie, do you have anything else to add?
I'd say that I think for my first day they had what was called an introduction day, and they sort of walked around the campus. They gave you a timetable, explained everything that was going to happen in the next few weeks, and even in the first few lessons you get to meet the teachers, and you're in, like you said, you're in the same boat as everyone else. So you don't really feel like you're alone there. It feels really calm.
It's definitely easier than when you first go into Year 7 in secondary school. That's definitely easier. It's also good with the campus, all the different buildings are marked. It's like if you're looking for Block C, you go into the centre of the campus and you can just see a big building and it says this is Block C. It's got a big C on it, and so you can find rooms pretty easily just looking around, and you can see this is Block D, this is Block C, and you can just read and see, I'm on C floor 1.
Yeah, I have to say I agree. I think from my first day I was nervous because it's a natural instinct because you're in a new environment. But at the end of the day, everyone's in the same boat, as Katie said. So it was a very enjoyable first day. So our third question is, what was it like studying health and social care? So I studied health and social care for 2 years, and I've recently just finished. And I have to say that it was one of my favourite A-levels I've ever done. Like, out of the 2 that I did, because I did musical theatre too, health and social care was probably the most enjoyable, purely because it was something that I want to do in the future. It's very enjoyable, but hard, like it's hard because you have a lot of work that you have to keep up with. But all I can say is if you keep up with the work, you have absolutely no issues. My favourite part for health and social care was like the pathways. So in my second year, I specialised in health, and now that's made me go on to study nursing next year at university. So do we have a dress code?
I don't think so. I don't think we have a dress. I can't think of anything which would be banned except for the obvious.
I think just like no offensive words and stuff on t-shirts or yeah.
But it feels like you need to kind of go out of your way at that point. It feels like you've got to go out of your way to get, something that goes against the dress code.
Just wear anything you feel comfortable in, basically. Like anything. It's not really. It's very chill, to be honest. What is the timetable like, Katie?
I mean, you get 1.5 hour lessons for most A-levels, I think. I'm not sure that's everything. And it varies between people, but I think depending on what blocks, I'm not sure how to explain this, but depending on what blocks you're in, it can vary. So on a Monday, you might have just 1 lesson. It'll be like an 1.5 hour lesson, and then you can go home. Meanwhile, on another day, like for me on Thursdays, you can have a lesson at 9 AM, another lesson after that at like 10:30. And then you get a large period between your second lesson and third lesson called a study break, which is just do whatever you want, but you should probably study. And then you have another lesson that goes on till 4:10. So it can really vary, but essentially you can have days where it's like 1 lesson or another day where it's a full day of lessons.
I guess that I guess it's very varied. I guess it's very varied in the sense it's not like secondary school where you get 5 lessons every day in the same time. It might be a little bit difficult at first, but you'll get the hang of it, it'll be fine. And the days will fluctuate a lot, where you might have 2 lessons, you might have 1 lesson, or you might just not have a lesson on certain days. So, you'll have to make sure you're always keeping up with your timetable.
Yeah, I have to say I agree. But it's quite nice because on some days I didn't have to go in till like 12. So it meant I could have like a lie-in or catch up on work, so I wasn't too stressed about coming in.
About timetables. I think you just like throughout the year you get to know it really well, because I mean in secondary for me, like we had like a week 1 and a week 2, but here it's just 1 week, but it's just the same every week. I don't know if it's the same in year 2 as well, but you get really familiar with it. So
yeah, so in year 2 the only thing that was different was our lunch times.
Oh right.
So our lunch time was a bit later. Yeah. So what enrichments are there? Or what enrichments are you part of?
Well, to anyone who's coming, I would highly recommend the debate club. It's a little bit small right now. Debate is not enormously popular, but it's fun. It's very fun, and if you're doing politics or you're doing anything similar, or you just like talking a lot, then maybe that's a good opportunity. And also, so Sam Plant does a lot of the actual enrichment and stuff because he does all the volunteering, and he'll often post emails about opportunities for volunteering or anything similar. And if there's ever a actual enrichment, you'll always see it in your emails, or they'll send out emails about it. And also a lot of it is just in posters around the wall. If you ever want to see like what you can join or what you can be part of, there'll be posters scattered across all the hallways and stuff. Most of our enrichment is from societies, in the sense that there's an LGBT society, which is like an LGBT club, and there is a Black People Society, and there is a Muslim Society. And right now that is the most of our enrichment, which is not particularly bad. I think that's a great thing in the sense that it's good if you want to find people who understand something about you or understand a way that you've been raised or live or sort of person you are. So I think that's a great thing. And obviously students are given the opportunity to start enrichment within reason. So if you can think of anything, then think of it.
Yeah, so I'm going to add that if you're planning on doing drama or musical theatre, we have like an annual production that we do. So I was in Into the Woods, which counted as enrichment. And then if you're also planning to do health and social care, it's not quite enrichment, but it's called plus time. So it's basically you can go to a teacher, sit in the classroom, and they go through the work with you if you don't understand. They help you with assignments. They talk to you about like career options, and it's definitely something I would recommend. So what is the word workload like? Katie?
As well, for me, doing like 3 sciences, I'd say there's a lot of focus on doing stuff independently. It's not like secondary school where you can do, say, most of your work in class and there's maybe like an hour of work outside. There's definitely, it's a big step compared to GCSE, I'd say. There's a lot more both like set assignments and also things you're expected to do on your own. So obviously you might get given, I think for me it's been about 2 hours a night, but that can vary between courses obviously. I'd just say it's a lot different from GCSE, but it does help, I think.
Do you have anything else to add about that?
I was just going to say, because I think in total you get like 4.5 hours per subject, because you have like 3 lessons of your subject twice a week, and so the teachers recommend you do like around about the same outside of class. Like if you have 4.5 for like English, like you do 4.5 outside, because when it comes to coursework, like 2 of my subjects are coursework, you find it actually goes more than 4.5, like you do like 6 or 7, but you spread it throughout the week, you need like 1 or 2 like here and there. But I think it's not too bad when you first start. It just like progresses as the content becomes more complex.
Yeah, so I did a coursework subject, and in fact I did 2, and I would definitely recommend like staying on top of coursework. The hours you put in are definitely worth it if you want to have a good result at the end. And it, it might seem like a lot, but at the end of the day, it's to help you. So was it difficult to settle in, and did it take a while? What are your opinions on this?
No, I didn't find it hard, but I'm just not very scared often of new experiences, so I'm not very relatable in that sense. Although I do think, in the sense if you were afraid or you were just shocked and overwhelmed, there is a lot of help for that, which is obviously optional, but if you're finding it difficult, it's there for you if you want it, just as an optional thing. Like one great example is that every single subject that I've seen has a subject plus, so like a little bit of enrichment where you can go and do a bit more of a subject if you're struggling behind or if you want to get those higher grades. And so far I believe every subject has one of those, and there's always scattered around the school. There's like, I know there's student mentors, which are always meant to help other students if you want something extra personal. I know that you're always encouraged to go to any of your teachers about anything. The teachers are definitely trained to, in case of certain situations, and everybody has a form tutor of sorts if you need something personal or you need help with anything specific, who are willing to talk about anything. So I guess
I agree.
I'm just saying, I suppose that it's not forced upon you, but there is a lot of help for anyone who needs it, and anyone who wants extra high grades can get support by just going to their teachers and asking about something and going to the subject plus. Yeah,
coming from my experience, so it did take a while, but I quickly made like friendship groups in my classes, so then I was like, I'm kind of settled because I know that I'm not alone and I have these friendships that I can go to. And then I think that also brought my class like a lot closer, because we all made friends, so we could always rely on each other for like help with work, or we used to study together. But yeah, I do agree it does take a while to settle in, but it's really not that bad.
And with friend groups, just thinking about friend groups, I think a great thing is that this being sixth form, you're all studying very particular subjects, and everybody in your class has gone out of their way to say, I want to do extra work in this subject. So you don't get any troublemakers, you don't get anyone who just doesn't care and is throwing pencils. And so that, I do think that helps making friends, because it's nice if other people are about as determined as you are and aren't trying to cause a mess or aren't trying to irritate you. And I do think that better behaviour across all students is good for making friends.
Yeah. So what equipment do you suggest to bring on the first day?
I think, well, because you're starting fresh, there's already too many books, unless like with English I had to bring like a couple of books because we were starting like Gothic literature. But I just suggest like a notebook. If it depends like what you're doing, so if it's like maths, obviously calculator, you need like rulers, pencils. But I think just like going back to the one earlier, because I don't want to interrupt anything.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like settling in, I think it kind of because I came from like Kings and Peterborough, which is like ages away. Except that's the thing, like everybody doesn't necessarily live in Cambridge. Like I know people, who come from Luton or live all sorts of places. So I think it's kind of obviously there will be like some sort of like cliques because like large groups come from like schools in Cambridge. But I think like after like the first few like couple of weeks, people just start to like branch out more and like you just kind of I know like literally like. I don't even remember sometimes how some of the friendships happen. Like you just come across somebody and then you just like like, start talking. Then you just like hang out because like you get the same timetable, like hang out in your frees and stuff. And it's just I think the really good thing about Long Road is because it is just because obviously like Hills Road is like down the road, so like it's not just. I mean, you can only have friends on Long Road, but it's like you can have friends like anywhere. Like it's not too. I can't think of the words, but
I guess if you have friends at Castle Hills because they went to different schools to you after, after secondary education, you'll get plenty of opportunity to potentially see them again.
Yeah,
which is the case with me. Castle is literally the building right next door to Long. You could mistake it for a part of Long Road. So, you get plenty of opportunity to see CAST students.
Moving like for the equipment, I would say that a laptop, if laptop for coursework or notebook, it depends like if you prefer typing or writing. And also, we like in the summer before you move up to Long Road, you will get given some summer work from your teachers. So I would recommend that you bring that the first day as well because for my first day I had to like submit it as proof I actually did it over the summer and then it got marked. So I would say like bring that in as well.
Yeah, for me with equipment, laptop is completely dependent on if you think it will help you. I think it's dependent on person to person.
Yeah, definitely.
Just buy a pack of like 10 pens and throw them in the back of your bag and that's a great start. And have a notepad. And I think that most of the equipment is, apart from like notepad, pen, and maybe a laptop if it's helpful to you. Apart from that, most of the equipment is case dependent or dependent on what you're studying. I assume it's like mostly common sense in the sense you'll want a calculator if you're doing maths, and you'll want a ruler if you're doing maths, and you'll want a pencil and your art pencils if you're doing drawing. I mean, not doing art. That was a bit not doing art, but also a lot of the subjects will ask you to get actual topic books, well not topic books, but subject books. So the majority of subjects when you first go in, the first day you'll be fine without it, but the second day they'll tell you got to buy this book, you got to buy this textbook which has all this information in. Yes. And once you've bought a textbook which has been recommended to you by your teachers, that will last you for the rest of the year and you don't need to buy anything else for the actual coursework, maybe a revision guide, maybe a revision booklet, possibly. But that is most of it.
Okay, so moving on, how does Long Road compare to other colleges that you may have visited? Like, what made you choose Long Road?
I think kind of when I did my rounds like visiting, because I missed out on the summer days, so I had like private tours. Yeah. And like me and a few of my friends like went together to visit these places, and I think it's kind of just like the general like vibe of the atmosphere. It just felt more relaxed because I came from, the reason why I didn't want to continue doing like a sixth form in school is because I didn't feel like, I mean there's only like 180 of us like in our like school year and I wanted to be like in a whole place that was like people my age, like just, I don't know, just generally like, I don't know. And so yeah, that's what Long Road was like for me. I just kind of like, no school uniform, big class.
Honestly, I think a helpful message is, I know that we're trying to motivate you to go to Long particularly, but wherever you do go, the course will be the same. They don't have specific courses like they do with university. The course will be the same. And I don't think you should be too worried with, I think once you've actually chosen, you shouldn't make too much of a big deal with it, and you shouldn't worry too much or freak out. And it should not be a decision which you worry too much about, because as long as you're working hard enough, and as long as you're trying hard enough, and it's all about you, as long as you're trying hard enough, it's going to be the same course, and you have the potential to get whatever grade and have whatever future wherever you go.
Katie, what's your opinion on this?
I'd say, obviously we've already gone over campus, which is really nice here compared to some places. It's obviously you've got nature, and there's a lot of well, there's a couple footpaths that connect along roads, so getting in the mornings can be nice if you've got like a lot of free time before a lesson.
Yeah.
I would say there's a bit more focus on independence here. There's less severe deadlines. Like if you miss work, they don't, or at least in some of my subjects, they don't try quite as hard to force you to catch up. There's more of a focus on you need to do this, because in university people aren't going to force you to complete work. You just have to do it.
Definitely.
Because you want to do it.
Yeah, I would say that it was the atmosphere and the courses, because there's such a variety of courses here that some colleges may not offer. That made me want to come here, as well as like just that it was close to home, and yeah, just the environment really. So what's the main difference between college and secondary school?
The main difference is that college is better. I don't know how to word it, but it's like secondary school.
I think it's just because you're more independent.
I don't know. You are more independent, and that is better. And some people might be afraid of that, but overall, independence is far better overall, I think. And you know, the teachers at sixth form have specifically done specific courses for much more specific subjects compared to just maths teacher or English teacher, whatever. And they are, I don't want to just ridicule every single secondary school teacher in the country, but sixth form teachers are better. They're better at teaching you. They're better at getting you to know information.
I think it's as well like you're doing what you want to study, because at school like some subjects you may not like or you may not be as good at, and I think at college you can just focus on what you want to do. So that's the big difference, like you doing what you enjoy, which makes you want to work harder, makes you want to do your best. And I think it's just like the overall environment of the independence, and the fact that you call your teachers by their first name as well just shows that it's not as formal as school.
Yeah, I think it's the dynamic actually. Yeah, it's kind of being able to read, because I feel like I probably wouldn't have chosen the course. I mean, my choices are still traditional, except I feel like I would have definitely gone a different route if I like stayed in my secondary school, because they like really push forward more like STEM subjects, and it's like literally like if I didn't come to college, I wouldn't have like discovered like actually we want to do something like English or like media or something. Like it's just, I'm literally just like, wow, yeah, if I stayed in like I think it just depends, I guess, like how much freedom you have in like your secondary school. But I think for me it's like I definitely grown as a person going to a college, because you just have like that space to kind of find out who you are. Really.
Yeah, I completely agree. Do you struggle with large class sizes? Like, is it harder to get work done, or is it harder to understand? Is it easier?
To put it very simply, no.
It doesn't matter.
No. The class sizes aren't big.
It's up to the teachers. It depends how much like guidance you want, because they'll be more than happy to say.
Exactly. Yeah. So, what sports clubs are there?
I wouldn't need to say much because I haven't attended.
Okay, I can. So there's football, rugby.
There's a netball team, there's a basketball team, there's a football team.
And you get, like he said earlier, you can like start your own clubs, like you can do dancing if you want. It's just because of COVID and
there's
stuff.
dance club, but that's part of Enrichment for musical theatre. But I think anyone can join that.
Yeah, there's like a fine between like, clubs and like societies.
Yeah, and also we have a gym, so you can have like a membership there. Where you can.
The gym is massive.
Go to the gym whenever you want.
Gym is a very big part of school, from what I remember.
Yeah, I don't go to the gym.
No, I don't either, but I just see it as humongous.
How did you make friends? And did you go to the clubs to meet people, or did you just make it naturally?
Well, I think obviously if there's people you might have known from your previous school, that's one way you already know these people. But you get a lot of teachers, in my experiences, they have on the first few lessons a day where you get like introduced to everyone in your classes. We did some sort of activities like introducing.
Oh yeah.
you know, we had like some, I don't know what you call them, like icebreakers, that sort of thing. And it, like you said, it comes really naturally. You just meet people gradually, and like because you have the free time at the same time you hang out, and then you might go the same way from your house to Cambridge. You might take the train or something. I think it's just you don't really have like a there's no like
It's not forced like anyway,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah, I agree with that. What you said. So are you allowed to leave the college, like
Yes.
for lunch?
Yeah, 100%. Like the only attendance you have to do is like when you're in lessons.
Lessons,
Like,
yeah.
Like you can go out to town. You can stay in the student centre library.
You
Like
could get
there's-
a delivery or whatever.
Yeah, like you don't have to like sign in or out. Like you just come and go as you please. But that's the thing. Like you have to wear your lanyard because it's an open campus. Like anybody can
Walk
come in and
on,
out.
yeah.
That's
So-
why the lanyard is normally important, so you do normally need
Yeah,
it.
so people know that
Yeah.
you're a student here.
But then again, also, it's like people can't just walk into the classes specifically because
Yeah, because they'll be like, I did not, have you on my register, so I feel like it's kind of.
And I think like they get to know your faces as well,
Yeah.
so they know exactly like in your lessons who you are. And if you're not meant to be in a lesson, then they would know.
Yeah.
So what is a typical day here? What is it like?
that is no. For me, that's a bit vague because it depends on the student. But if you're using an example like how my day goes, I live in a village which is a bit further off from Cambridge, so I don't actually live in Cambridge. And so normally I'll take the train early in the morning. For when we're thinking about times, I know this is a little bit connected to like the timetable, but most lessons start at 9. So if you're living like the absolute furthest you can from the campus in this tiny little field in the middle of nowhere, then normally you need to get a train at sort of around 8 o'clock, an hour before your lesson, to be extra sure.
I think it depends on like train times as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then although sometimes your lesson day won't start at 9, sometimes it'll start at 10:30, or sometimes it'll start way later, like you said, at like 12:20.
Yeah.
But then once that happens, you get your first lesson, which is that system at the timetable goes in is that you have your first lesson, you have your second lesson, you've got break, and then you've got lesson 3 and 4, and then you've got some after school time. But the first lesson happens at 9, and you sometimes don't have a first lesson at 9. And then after that, there's another lesson at 10:50. Then after that, there's another lesson at 12:20, and it depends on which slot your first lesson is in. And then you'll go, and then there'll be 20 minutes between each lesson, and you will go into your lesson, and you will just walk in, and it's perfectly fine. You just walk in and sit down at the right time, and then you'll go for your lesson. There'll be 20-minute gaps between. The lunch is always open. The lunch area is always open, so you can get drinks and you can get something to eat if you're badly need it. And then when you need to leave, you just leave the campus. You just walk out. There's nothing technical about it.
Yeah, so in U2, the only thing that's really different is you have different break time and lunchtime. And sometimes, like, I had a double lesson or something. But that's because my level was a double. So I had like health and care, then health and care, then another, it just kind of depends on the day. But yeah, so does joining clubs benefit you? Like your A level or, anything? Your friendships, your time at Long Road?
Depends on the club, obviously, but there's a
And
lot
the
of
person.
there's a lot of sports enrichment clubs which are, if you enjoy that sort of thing, it can be a good way to meet new people. It can be a good way to keep up with whatever you're doing, keep healthy. And there's other clubs, I'd say there's obviously like debate club, like you said, and there's chess club, and these sort of clubs. If you're interested in that sort of thing, it's a good way to say, oh, I've been doing things outside of just my studying. I'm not just here to get good grades. I also want to improve myself as a person. I want to get new experiences.
Yeah, I agree.
If you want to think about enrichment with clubs, like universities after you leave Long Road, I'm sorry if I'm stressing people out. Like, I don't want to be thinking about university right now. I understand you don't want to be thinking about it right now. You want to be thinking about sixth form. You've got enough on your plate.
Yeah.
But universities will appreciate that you have taken your subject and you've gone further beyond what's just in the curriculum, and so they'll appreciate if if you do stuff in association with what subjects you're doing and what subjects you plan on doing, which goes beyond what's just in the textbook. So a great example is that recently we had I'm doing sociology, and we had an actual presentation from Cambridge University about decolonizing sociology, and I won't go into depth about it, but that's something that you can put on your CV if you go to something similar, because there's all kinds of presentations and people coming to visit, and if you can put it on your CV and it shows the people that you've gone
It
that
shows
extra
that
length.
you're like dedicated and determined, like to do something other than your subjects. So Katie, how is the subject combinations that you study? Like, how was it?
Well, obviously doing 3 sciences, it's a lot of workload and a lot of revision because they're all, I don't know, they're quite intensive subjects when it comes to the amount of stuff you have to learn. Chemistry is more of a maths-based subject, so there's a lot of making sure you know equations, making sure you know formulas, and then in psychology it's more memorizing pieces of information. I'd just say if you manage it and if you start early with revision and with work, you normally find it okay. However, if you're someone who likes to leave stuff to the last minute, like I was in secondary school, you definitely will find it really stressful later on. You need to be on top of time management if you want to do a lot of revision intensive subjects.
Okay, so what is the culture here? What is it like? I would say that it's very diverse and we respect everyone, like different races, different religions. We're very like caring and welcoming to anything, really. Have you got anything else?
There's a lot of emphasis on, not emphasis I suppose, but there's a lot of support around the school. There's a lot of posters like literally everywhere about mental health.
Yes.
There's a lot of focus on making sure that you're doing well emotionally here. It's not just get good grades.
I think well-being like is so important as well, like especially during your A-levels because it can be a very stressful time. But if you have the support, then absolutely fine.
I think it's kind of like, ironically, because I would have thought that if you go to a college, like you're more independent, and I thought that in secondary school you'd have better pastoral care, except actually here you find that because you, well, no, I suppose it depends because like even at secondary school it felt like I had to go to teachers and like it felt really awkward, but the counselling service here is amazing, and there's, I mean, it's not just about the posters, it's just kind of like, once you get to know your teachers and like your progress coach, like you feel really comfortable with being able to like come to people about that. And if you're talking about like friends and just the people in general, I think you really have opportunities to like, find your people because there's so many like clubs you can do. In fact, it's not even, you shouldn't really stress too much about clubs. Like sometimes it feels like you have to like you feel like you have to go because of like, oh, look good on my personal statement and stuff, and it's kind of like there is that stigma about it. It's like I feel like I need to go, except honestly it's really up to you like how involved you want to be because it depends what type of person you are. I'm actually an introvert, so I can't really do too much with stuff except the stuff I do I do enjoy it and I don't feel overwhelmed by it.
I think it's that like element of trust as well between your teachers, like you can 100% trust them. I think that's very confidential. So would you recommend getting a laptop?
So it depends if it's going to help you, and it depends if you think it would be useful resource for learning. For me, I have a laptop, so I've used one, and it's good if you want to write fast because it is definitely faster to type than it is to actually write, and it comes with great things for like if you're one thing is great is that you can use the internet, which is always good because it means that you can research things, and if you're interested in a subject related to school, then you can research about that. And there's of course school Wi-Fi, which is useful if you have a laptop, because you won't, unless you're doing computer science, you won't get the opportunity to use school computers very often, but you can definitely take advantage of the school Wi-Fi if you have a laptop.
So I would say that for my, like if you're in health and social care, a laptop is vital because all my assignments I wrote on there. I don't know how many assignments I had, but I had so many assignments. And also for Teams, when we were in lockdown, we used it a lot. And if you have a laptop, it's a lot easier than using your phone at times because it can be a bit like slow and clustered. But there are school laptops here, and we do have like desktops that get handed out for students who don't have laptops so they can complete coursework. But if you have your own, that's great, to be honest. How much outside of class studying is there?
I think there's kind of, in general with timetables, like the maximum of like lessons you have is 4 if you're doing EPQ, but like doing subjects like you only ever have like 3 in a day, and for me literally I only have like 2 maximum a day actually, so that's quite lucky. But if you have like, depends what your timetable is, like if you have like 1 day off, then usually then like some of the subjects will be moved to another day. So my friend has like 3 on Monday, none on Tuesday, like 2 on Wednesday. Like I only have like 2 or 1 on during the week. So you have plenty of outside time. Like honestly, like I finished at 2:15. It's like I can go home.
Yeah, I
That's
think
great.
like so. Although my work was only coursework based, I did the work at college. Then went home and did like 4 hours because I wanted to get it done. Like I was determined to get it done that day, so I had free time. So our last question is, what spaces are there if you have a free period on campus? Like where can you go?
There's the main field. There's like a big field area that stretches around the outside of the college with a bunch of benches sort of placed around. So there's obviously like on good sunny days you can sit outside in the field, you can hang around on the benches. It's like pretty there. They regularly mow it.
Yeah.
There is a sort of forested area around the back. I think it's near the art area. I'm not sure.
It is, yeah.
There's a sort of forested area. It's got lots of nice trees. It's got like a woodland walk around the back. It's sort of a really short tree-covered place, and like they've got tons of benches. So there's tons of outdoor places, indoor places. There's
Costa.
Yeah, there's Costa.
There's the where you can sit or you can do work. There's the
Canteen.
student centre. There's the LRC.
Yeah.
There's loads of places. Yeah.
Could I just add something about the subject combinations? I
Yeah.
completely forgot to say.
Yeah.
Depending on what subjects you do, obviously doing sciences, sometimes subjects can interlink. So like with biology, we learn about water, and in chemistry we learn about water, and like things can overlap, and it can be really like nice in subjects to have that knowledge beforehand. So you go into a lesson thinking, oh, I know parts of this already.
Yeah. So our last question is, what makes Long Road unique? One word to describe Long Road.
Oh gosh.
It's such a weird question. It's such a weird question.
Bit of a sticky one. I think it's kind of just combining like everything you've said throughout the whole talk. It's having like, well, it's not the most important thing, but not having school uniform is great.
Yes.
Having just kind of like a less formal and like really weirdly, relationship with your teachers, being able to talk to everybody.
Yeah. I would say it's the environment, to be honest. Yeah. Your turn. Would you like to say anything?
There, you put me on
I
the
put you on the spot, sorry.
I can't think of something that says it's unique. I can't think of something specific.
Okay.
Which obviously doesn't mean I'm saying it's
No,
bad.
I think it's just a lot of things that are so good about it. It's just hard to pinpoint.
It is hard to pinpoint anything.
You got anything to say? Katie?
Just independence, there's a lot of opportunities. This isn't necessarily unique to Long Road, but you're in Cambridge, so there's you get tons of emails about volunteering and work
definitely.
experience. Like I don't know if I'll do this next year, but this year at least there was a book club about Henrietta Lacks, which then we get to go to a science lab later, and it's just there's so many opportunities here.
Yeah.
It's in like Cambridge.
So
There's like links to you get so many seminars and like opportunities to like explore the subjects and features.
okay, so what is musical theatre like? Well, from my opinion, it's really fun and it's really energetic and it gets your blood pumping, especially dance classes. So our timetable was like split up. So on Tuesday, like in the morning, we had a dance class. On Thursday morning, we had a singing class, and on a Friday we had a drama class. But then in year 2 that changed. So the Tuesday and Thursday lessons stay the same, and then because we were leading up to like a production or an exam, we did singing and dancing, just to like go over anything, and it's honestly so enjoyable. So if you like drama, dance, singing, I would definitely recommend it because it's just so fun. And also the work, like the written work, isn't really too much. So we had like presentations in our first year, and then it became more essay based in the second year, but it's not even that hard, to be honest. It's really fun, and you learn about technique and dancing and musical theatre. And we were actually lucky enough to see 6 musical before lockdown, and yeah, it was amazing. So I'm now going to hand you back to Steve Dan. Bye.
Thank you for coming.
They did a great job there, didn't they? I hope you all agree. They were dealing with all those questions on the fly as they just sort of came into us. And sorry if we didn't get to your particular question. We've been looking at the ones that have been voted up. There were 538 questions came in from well over 1,000 people that are watching this, just to make it even more nerve-wracking for the 4 students that were there. If we didn't reply to your subject, your question about particular subject, I think remember, look online, look in the prospectus. We will be sending out some instructions and joining instructions for everybody fairly shortly. That will include when enrolment happens and what you can do on enrolment days. It'll include newsletters and other things. We'll put some more answers to the frequently asked questions on the website as well. But hopefully you've seen, at least the tone and the sort of vibe that you're getting from the 4 students there is, Long Road is a very welcoming place. It's different from school. We like to think it's better, and I'm pleased that the students have tended to say that they do as well. And you'll adjust to it quickly. It will be different, but you'll adjust to it quickly, and you've got a lot of people here that will help you adjust, and that includes the students that are going into next year, as well as all the teachers and the mentors and the progress coaches. So thank you ever so much for joining us. Again, it would have been much better, we know, if you've been able to come onto the site itself and talk to us in person. But we are where we are with that, and let's try and keep ourselves safe, keep doing those tests, get all the vaccinations done and all the rest of it, and really hope that next academic year we'll be able to be back to normal or as near to. Thank you ever so much for attending again and giving up your time this afternoon. All the best. Bye-bye.